Hello, I'm going to show you how to write your own interpretive report. Let's say you want to write your own interpretive report. Maybe you want to interpret Sun conjunct fixed stars and Moon conjunct fixed stars, and maybe who knows, maybe planets conjunct certain asteroids, any number of things. You want to make your own report, or maybe you want to make a report that's similar to another interpretive report, but you want to reorganize the chapters. You want to do more than just edit the text. Editing the text is a no-brainer, very simple. I show it in another tutorial video, and I have a link to that video at the bottom of this PowerPoint slide. So that's very easy. But if you want to reorganize the report, design your own report, whether it's a wildly different report from any that exists or a variation on an existing report, whether it's very simple or complicated, that the method is the same. And I'm going to show how you do it with a natal report. What I'm going to show you here would also work with compatibility report. I think it would also work with a relocational report. To create your own forecast report is different procedure. So let me show you how to do it. And there are 4 steps. And this last step, editing this thing called a definition file, is the most complicated one. So to redesign a report, to create your own report, is not simple stupid. I mean, you don't just have little buttons and little things to click on or check boxes. There's a thing called a definition file. It takes some time and thought, and maybe even some studying of the help system in the program. It's tremendously easier than hiring a programmer to produce the report. Hugely simpler, but it's not as simple as just having a nice graphical user interface and just clicking on what you want to get what you want, because you're going to design your own. We don't know what you might want to do, and anyway, it's the way it works. Okay, so this tutorial video maybe is not going to be an extremely popular one. Not that many people want to create or design and write their own reports, but if you ever do, this video shows you how to do it. 4 steps. One is, I'm going to show it with the Kepler Sirius astrology software. So step number 1 is to have either the Kepler program or the Sirius program. Step 2 is you select the feature in the program to duplicate a report. Even if there's not an existing report that's similar to the one you want, just duplicate the report. And if you have a choice, like suppose you're going to make a natal report, and your natal report has more than is in the simple Cosmo report, but not as much as in one of the advanced reports that you can purchase, but you own an advanced report like Merlin or Indra, then use the Merlin or Indra. Use a report that has more than you're going to do rather than less, if you have a choice. Anyway, you duplicate a report, and that's very simple. So the first 2 steps are easy. You get the software. 2, you duplicate an existing report. The Cosmo report comes with Sirius, so you always have a report, and with Kepler, and you always have a report to duplicate. And if you want to edit interpretations, that's very simple too, and I showed that in the other video, no problem. The most complicated thing, as I said before, is the reorganizing, and the reorganizing is done by editing the definition file. One other thing I want to emphasize: do not remove interpretations from the text file. The text file is a file that has all the interpretations. Even if you're not interpreting everything that's in the text file, just leave it there. Don't remove anything, because that disturbs the whole structure. If you're going to add interpretations, add them to the end of the file. Okay, I'm going to show this to you. It's probably sounding abstract because I'm just blah, 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 explaining it but not showing it to you. Let me show you. We have the Sirius software up here. Let's duplicate a report. I'm going to show you an example of duplicating the asteroids report. Let's first look at the report. Interpretation, natal, galactic asteroids, English, asteroids report. So I select the report and I click OK. This is a report, an interpretive report that comes with Sirius. It does not come with Kepler, but it does come with the Sirius astrology software. It's really a wonderful report. It interprets the planets I'm just scrolling down here past the introduction, introductory information, and here's the interpretation. It tells me over 1,000, that there's about 1,400 asteroids, and it tells me which asteroid each planet is conjunct. The Sun is conjunct an asteroid called Scania with a 46-minute orb, and it tells me all about Scania. And Sun is conjunct Toronto for this person, rock and roll singer Eric Burdon. Sun is conjunct Toronto, 31 minutes, and then it tells you what it means. Asteroid was named for the University of Toronto during a celebration in which it was discovered, and then University of Toronto was founded as King's College in 1827 by the Church of England. It acquired its current name in 1850. So, lots of interesting information and some ideas on what it would mean astrologically at the end. This asteroid may ascribe importance to the unique city of Toronto and to the University of Toronto in particular. Well, that was all we had to say about it. Sometimes it gets a little more detailed in the interpretation. Anyway, let's say we want to do two things to this report. Actually, this is what one of our customers wants to do and inspired me to make this video. He wants to remove some interpretations. Let's remove Sun conjunct Toronto. So this we'll skip it. We'll get Sun conjunct Scania. We don't want Sun conjunct Toronto. We just want to go right directly to this next one. So he wants to remove some and add some. He also wants to edit some interpretations. So let me show you how we do all this. Let's go back to our PowerPoint here. Step 2, duplicate a report. Okay, let me show you how to duplicate a report. It's very simple. If I right click, I'm back to the window here for selecting, and there it is, duplicate report. So when you have this report selected in this window for selecting reports, just duplicate it. Very simple. Step 1 is you're going to pick a place for this interpretation. It's going to become a menu item. And let's put it in here as number 5, My Asteroids Report. Actually, I had been editing this. Originally, it just said 5 equals user, but I had already edited it. Anyway, it's showing you available places to put the report. So I'm going to put it here. I can't put it here under 4 equals asteroids report because all the menu items are used. So it's showing me available spots for me to put it. I could put it down here as 0 equals user or up here. And then a name for my text file. I'm going to call it myast. M-Y-A-S-T. It has to be a short name. So that's for my asteroid file. This is the file that will have the interpretations. That's all there is to it. I click OK. Done. This is wonderful. I click OK. And now this one is alive. It's not grayed out. So I'll unselect this report and I'll select the My Asteroids report. And over here is a menu items button where I can say, I'll call it My New Asteroids report. You can give it a name so that when you come back, you know where it is. So here's My Asteroids report, and it's a clone, a perfect duplicate of the original Asteroids report. So now I'll select my new report, and it will be identical to the other. This is wonderful because now, with all of your customizing, you won't change the original. You don't have to worry about messing up any of the original or wondering what the original stuff looked like. It's just the same exact thing we saw before. So step number 2 is accomplished. We've duplicated it. Now, if we want to change interpretations or add interpretations, we edit the text file. Important note, do not remove any interpretations from the text file. Even if you're not going to use those interpretations, leave them there. So maybe, I don't know if that makes sense to you right now, but don't remove anything from the text file. Okay, so let me show you this so it's clear. I go to Settings, Other Settings, this bottom menu item, Edit Text tab, and then any text file, and now I open, File, Open, my text file. What's my text file? It's my ast. Remember, that was the name I gave it just a minute ago, MYAST, and it adds 01 to it because you can have more than one file, and you want the text file. You might see a CTL, that's called an index file. We want this file. This is the file with your interpretations. Exactly the name that we just gave it. If you don't remember that we just gave it a name of my MYAST, you can replay this video from the beginning. You'll see where we did that when we duplicated the report. And we open it. It asks if there are interpretations. The default is yes. We click OK. And there they are. And for fun, let's go ahead and search and find that Toronto interpretation. So I'm going to search for Toronto. And this is an interpretation for an asteroid called Montreal. It's this 937, 938 is just a counter of how many interpretations there are. And this number here, you might guess, is the asteroid number. Every asteroid has a number. But this is just a comment. The asterisk, the line with an asterisk is a comment. I can type anything here. I can type, hallelujah. Hallelujah, praise the Lord. I can type anything I want in here. It's just a comment, and I can leave it there. Nonsense. It won't affect the report. This is just a comment, and then there's a blank line, and then the actual interpretation. Now, in the interpretation of asteroid Montreal, there's reference to Toronto as part of the interpretation. But usually in Windows, you can hit F3 to continue your search. Yep, it worked. And now this is the interpretation of Toronto. The comment tells me that it's Toronto, and Toronto happens to be asteroid number 2104. I'm going to make some notes to myself in Notepad. I'm opening up the Notepad program. I'll just drag this to the visible area. I'm going to make a note that Toronto is interpretation asteroid Toronto. Asteroid Toronto is interpretation number 1323. And asteroid number is, let me turn on the word wrap here. Yeah, what is it? 2104 is 2104. I'm just making some notes that we might want to refer to later. Because I'm going to remove this interpretation of Toronto. I don't want it. And I'm going to add an interpretation to the end. I'm going to go to the end of the file. There are 1,426 interpretations. I'm going to add a 1427, so I put a comment. I'll put the number, which is handy to refer to later, and I'll say this is an additional introduction. And I'll put the @ symbol after it. You always have an @ see the @ at the end of each one, and a blank line. So I've added an interpretation, and I've made some notes about Toronto. Now I'm going to save this. Oh, error. Comment found, but comment is 0 lines. Oh, I didn't do something right. And it's telling me error is an interpretation of 1426. Okay, so there's an error here. Interpretation 1426. Oh, I see what my problem is. I didn't give an interpretation. Ha! Not very smart. The interpretation goes down here. This is my comment line, an additional interpretation. So if you make a mistake, what I did is I put a comment without an interpretation. So this is my comment, and this is my actual interpretation. Maybe I wouldn't have gotten confused if I would have written something that made more sense. Your interpretation of asteroids is given below. All right. So if you don't format it properly with a comment and interpretation, you'll get an error message when you save it. Let's see if I did it properly. I save it, and now it tells me I have 1,427 interpretations. Good. So that's how you edit the file. Now I'll just close this file. Close. All right. So we have finished the first 3 steps. Where is my... Now we just edit the definition file, and that's the most difficult step. Okay, so I'm showing you how to duplicate a report, how to design and create your own report. What you do is you first duplicate a report, then you'll have a text file that you just created when you duplicated it, and you can edit that. Now I'll show you how to edit the definition file, and this is the part that's the most complicated. But I'll give you an idea as to how it's done, and I'll show you something that's really difficult to show you sort of like a worst case scenario. All right, I'm going to get out of this here. I'm back to my interpretation. How do I edit the definition file? It's the last thing I need to do to design my own report. Okay, what I want to do is I want to remove the interpretation of Toronto, and I want to add my additional introduction. I'll show you how to do it. I'm going to right click, and I'm in this window with my new asteroids report, and you click on Layout Customize. That's all there is to it. With this report selected in this window, select this, I get a message, click OK, and now you edit this file. It's called the definition file. It defines the report. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to update how many interpretations there are. There aren't 1426, there are 1427. So in this editor, in the lower left corner, it tells me what line I'm on, 9:5. If I move my cursor up, I'm on line 8, the 5th column. So let's go to line 9. And this definition file needs to know where the interpretations are, how many interpretations are. This is the brain. This is what actually produces the report. So we're going to tell it that there are 1427 interpretations. It already knows that the name of the file is myast, M-Y-A-S-T. It's actually MYAST01, because you can have more than one text file, but we only need one file. This is years ago. When computers weren't as powerful, we would break them into separate files. But anyway, it's myast. Okay, now, how am I going to remove Toronto and add my introduction? If I scroll down, let me start at the top. If I scroll down, this definition file tells me all kinds of things about the report. Here's the names of the zodiac signs. If I'm translating to another language or for whatever reason, I can change the names of those. Here's the names of the planets. Here's the names of house cusps. Here's the names of the months. So this is sometimes called header information. And general information. Here's what daylight savings time is called. So if I'm translating to another language, I can just translate all that stuff right here. Here's the names for AM, PM, tropical sidereal, all kinds of other words, east and west. And here's where the report begins. So the definition file is a set of instructions. It's like talking to the computer. And this says F1N means turn on font 1, which is like a normal font. SO2, you can go to the help and it will tell us what SO2 means. It means skip 2 lines. This will print centered on the page the asteroids report 4. So in the actual report, it'll say the asteroids report 4. It's a set of instructions. This changes the fonts. This prints the person's name, the date and time they were born. It's a set of instructions for producing the report. So you can just change anything you want in here and make a new report. As I said, this is not simple, stupid. You have to actually read the manual and think about, you can look up these keywords like PCP in the help, the online help, not online, in the help in the program. And then it says start asteroid table. And this, if we go to the help, it will tell us that this is just a sequential list of numbers. The first 41 are the normal planets. The asteroids start at 42, and this is the asteroid number. So, for example, if I do a search for I'll go to my notes. Asteroid Toronto is asteroid number 2104. 2104. This is a big long table that's telling me that 1364, the 1364th item here, is asteroid 24. Now, if at this point your head is spinning and it's too complicated, you're not used to thinking about detailed information like this and looking things up in tables, then it's going to be a little bit difficult for you to design and create your own report. It takes a lot of patience and just following some simple, sometimes rather tedious rules about how it's organized. So designing your own report in Kepler and Sirius is not something we've built a beautiful user interface for. We haven't done it because there isn't that much demand for it. We're working on other things that there's higher demand for. But it is here. If you have the patience to work with it, you can completely create your own interpretation completely from scratch. And when astrologers want to write a new report for us and we sell it to our customers, then we design all this for you, and you don't have to think about it. But it's telling us, I'm almost done, by the way. If your brain is getting fried with all the detail, you might want to hang in there. We're almost done. It's telling us that 1364 in the list is Toronto, which is asteroid number 2104. So all the information about the report, all the numbers of all the asteroids are listed here. And it's a long list. And then there's additional information. Here's what prints the, let me go up here. Here's what prints the introduction. I'll copy this. It's not obvious, but this prints interpretation 1426, and I will add 1427. That will add our new interpretation, and I'm going to skip Toronto, our additional introduction that we wrote, and I'm going to go here, and this one line produces all the asteroid interpretations. It says produce all the asteroid interpretations from 42 to 1466. If I go back up here, 1466 is these 4 digits is the end of this list. The 1 is related to something else. So now to skip, here it is right here. I want to skip, let me go back to my notes. I want to skip number 1364. Okay, so you would have a lot of difficulty figuring this out, but actually if you took your time and you studied it for a period of time, you start to figure out how this works. So I'm going to copy this line, and I'm going to say go to 1363 and start again at 1365. Whoops, I mistyped that. So what this is saying is do all the asteroids from 42 to 1363, then do all of them from 1365 to 1466. So I've skipped 1364. And that's how we skip the interpretation. Again, designing and creating your own report and organizing everything. And if you think about it, this Kepler and Sirius program is allowing you to interpret any asteroid. There are over 100,000 asteroids. Any asteroid at all, you can interpret it. It's amazing. So how is it going to do it? Well, if you know anything about programming and software development, you know you have to set things up to do this. And this table, it might look complicated, but it doesn't get much simpler than this from a programming standpoint. It's just listing the number of any asteroid you want to use. G means geocentric position, normal position, and then you just number them, and then you refer to it by the number in the list. You say, give me this number in the list. And then you have a line down here. IAS means interpret the aspect of an object that's sent to these asteroids. So it's like a report generating language. Anyway, this is very, very advanced stuff. It's not the simplest thing in the world. But you might say, gee, the Kepler program, the Sirius program is so hard to use. No, it's not hard to use. It's hard to use if you're doing an extremely advanced thing like designing your own report. The fact you have the feature at all is wonderful. So we've given this feature for advanced people and for ourselves. When an astrologer comes along and says, I want to write a report, we can just create a definition file. We don't have to go into our low-level programming language like the language C or Visual Basic or Delphi or some programming language like that. To create it, we can just go in here and update automatically, and this is much easier than doing it. So that's the idea. If you're sort of computer phobic, this might have made your head spin a little bit, but this is how it's done, to create and design your own report from scratch. So I'm going to save this, if I didn't make any mistakes, and I'll quit, close this window, and I'll click on OK. I've got this report highlighted and selected, and let's see if it works. It should have added my additional introduction, and it should have skipped Toronto if I did it properly. So let me scroll down to the introduction. Here's the introduction. Da 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 da. And here's that text that I wrote. Your interpretation of asteroids is given below. You remember I added that? There's my additional line I added. And now does it skip Toronto? It does. Sun conjunct Scania. We no longer have Toronto. You might remember it did Scania, Toronto, and then this guy here, or Hixador or something like that. So it worked. I added my additional introduction, and I skipped an interpretation. If I want to add interpretations, I add them to the end of the text file, and then I just add the line to the definition file to produce the interpretation. So this is very advanced, very sophisticated. It's probably for less than 1% of our customers. The only reason I'm making this video is it's easier for me to make this video for this particular customer to refer to, and then for anybody else who wants to design, create their own report. If you've always were dying to write your own interpretive report, and if this looks a little bit complicated, you can see if somebody can work with you who's a little more patient and a little more used to working with the details of setting up tables and information like this. It's just a matter of patience and following the instructions and setting it up, and it can be done. Okay, so I just want to say again, don't get an impression about the overall Kepler and Sirius program based on this. This is a very advanced function to create your own report. It's not simple. The main heart of the program for the things people normally do is extremely simple. Okay, so I'm almost hesitant to show some of these advanced features because people might misunderstand and say, gee, that was difficult. Why I don't want a difficult program? Realize a program like Kepler and Sirius has a range of things from the very simple, elegant, sophisticated, all the way up to incredible features like being able to design and create your own report. And this really wonderful feature to allow you to create your own report, organize it, design it, change fonts, so many things. It's not as simple, and it requires going into this definition file and learning how to work with it. That's how it's done. You've got the basic idea now of, and you can step through this video if you're designing and creating your own report, and just follow the steps. And you have it, and just let us know if you get stuck anywhere, and we'll try to help you out. Okay, my friends, take care. God bless. Namaste.